Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we basically take a stack of source material. Sometimes it's a big stack. Today it's one really key document, and we dig in. We pull out the essential insights for you. The idea is, to give you the shortcut to being really informed without getting lost in all the details. And today we're diving into something that feels, well, incredibly important and honestly pretty hopeful. How AI is boosting accessibility in education. We've talked about AI in schools before, but this angle, it feels really focused on unlocking potential.
It really does, yeah. The source document we're looking at today positions AI not just as, another piece of tech, but as a genuinely powerful ally. An ally in breaking down some pretty significant barriers that stop a lot of students from really accessing learning fully. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the specific ways this source says AI is tackling those long-standing challenges. We'll pull out the key findings, look at practical examples, and touch on the important things we need to watch out for.
Okay, good. Let's set the stage. The document outlines the core questions we'll be exploring, all drawn directly from its analysis. Let me just list them out for you. First, what are the barriers students face in traditional education settings? Simple enough, but foundational. Second, how is AI specifically helping students with sensory disabilities, so hearing and vision impairments? Third, what about students with learning disabilities and neurodiversity? What AI tools are making a difference there? Fourth, how's AI tackling linguistic barriers for language learners? That's a big one. Fifth, what exactly is Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, and how does AI actually support this idea? Sixth, we need to talk challenges. What about AI's reliability, accuracy, and the potential for bias in this context? Seventh, beyond the tech itself, what are the human and systemic challenges? Things like data privacy, equitable access. And finally, eighth, what's the ultimate promise here? What's the big picture vision for AI in making education truly accessible? All right, quite a list. Let's unpack that first question then. What are the fundamental barriers that this source says students run into in, typical school settings?
Well, the document starts from this core idea that education should be open to everyone, right? But often, the way it's set up, it unintentionally creates roadblocks. The source breaks down these barriers into a few main categories that affect different groups of students.
Okay, walk us through those categories.
So the first one is sensory disabilities. We're talking about students who are blind or have low vision, and also students who are deaf or hard of hearing. Think about how traditional learning works. Lots of visual stuff, textbooks, whiteboards, lots of spoken lectures. If you struggle with seeing or hearing, well, you're immediately facing big hurdles just accessing the basic info.
Right, that makes sense. What's next?
Then you've got learning disabilities. And it's important to stress this isn't about intelligence at all. It's about how someone processes information, or maybe how they express it. The source mentions specific examples like dyslexia, which impacts reading, dysgraphia, which affects writing, the dyscalculia related to math. It also points to challenges with executive function and attention, things often linked with ADHD, so that these students might find the standard pace or the format of teaching or how they're tested really difficult.
Okay, so processing and expression challenge.
Exactly. Then there are physical disabilities. This could be anything that makes tasks like, say, writing by hand or using a standard keyboard, or even just interacting physically with classroom stuff difficult. If you have a physical impairment, the typical classroom setup itself can be a barrier.
And you mentioned language.
Yes, linguistic barriers. This is a huge one, especially in diverse places like Canada, as the source notes. We're talking about students learning the main language of instruction. Maybe they're newcomers, maybe their first language is different, they might grasp the concepts, but the language itself is the hurdle to accessing the material.
So understanding is there, but language gets in the way.
Pretty much. And the source also makes a specific point about neurodiversity. It highlights that students on the autism spectrum, for instance, might have unique needs related to communication or sensory input or social interaction, needs that standard teaching methods don't always accommodate well.
Wow. Okay, so it's a really broad range of challenges. The traditional model clearly wasn't designed with all this variation in mind, and this is where the source brings in AI as this powerful ally.
That's exactly it. The document argues that AI is moving, quote, beyond theory now. It's actively powering real adaptive technologies. Technologies designed specifically to dismantle these barriers. The core idea is shifting. Instead of making the student fit a rigid system, you use AI to make the instruction, the environment itself, flexible, making it bend to meet the needs of the student. And it connects this to bigger goals like the Accessible Canada Act using tech for, proactive inclusion.
That shift,
Yeah.
bending the instruction to the student, that feels
Yeah.
really fundamental. Okay, let's get into the specifics then, the tools. Starting with those sensory disabilities you mentioned, hearing and vision. How exactly is AI helping there?
Yeah, this is an area where the source says AI is having a huge impact. For students who are deaf or hard of hearing, real-time transcription and captioning, it's called a game changer. Imagine a lecture happening, and AI just instantly turns the speech into accurate text on a screen. Live, it makes lectures, discussions, videos immediately accessible. And importantly, the source points out, this isn't only for students with hearing loss, it's a valuable learning aid for many others too. Think about noisy rooms or just different learning styles.
Right. Providing multiple ways to get the same information. Makes sense. What about for students facing visual barriers?
For students who are blind or have low vision, advanced text-to-speech, or TTS, is obviously crucial, and the source emphasizes that modern AI-driven TTS sounds highly natural, not like those old robotic computer voices we remember, so it can read digital textbooks, notes, websites, anything written aloud, makes all that text accessible through hearing.
Okay, so turning text into natural-sounding speech. What else?
Well, it gets more advanced. AI-powered visual description. This uses computer vision technology. The AI can literally look at images, charts, graphs, even scenes in a video, and generate a spoken or written description of what's visually there. The source says this provides crucial context that would otherwise be missing. It even mentions automatically generating alt text for images online. Those descriptions often missing.
Wow, automatically describing complex visuals.
Yeah.
That opens up a massive amount of content that was previously inaccessible.
It really does. And the source also touches on something it calls an emerging frontier, AI sign language avatars. The idea is AI could potentially translate spoken or written language into animated sign language in real time. It's still developing, but offers potential for more direct and scalable interpretation down the line.
The potential just in that sensory area alone feels huge. Okay, let's shift gears. What about learning disabilities like dyslexia or neurodiverse students? What kind of AI tools does the source highlight for helping them engage better or express themselves?
Yeah, the document outlines quite a few adaptive tools here. For students with reading difficulties like dyslexia, AI offers personalized reading aids. And this is more than just basic text-to-speech. AI can actually reformat the text on the screen. Think special fonts designed for dyslexia, adjusted line spacing, different color contrasts, even highlighting words as they're read aloud. And crucially, these tools can often summarize long, complex articles or give you instant definitions for tricky vocabulary words right there in the text.
So it's about changing the text display itself, plus adding layers of support directly onto it. That's clever.
Exactly. Then for students who struggle with the physical act of writing, maybe due to dysgraphia or a physical disability, there's speech-to-text for writing support. Basically, AI dictation. They can compose assignments, emails, notes, whatever, just by speaking. The source says this effectively removes the mechanical barrier of writing, letting them focus just on getting their ideas down.
Taking the physical writing part out of the equation. I can see how freeing that would be. What about focus and organization?
Right. For challenges related to focus or organization, maybe linked to ADHD or executive function difficulties, AI offers focus and organizational tools. These are tools designed to help break down big assignments into smaller steps, manage schedules, set smart reminders, maybe give gentle nudges to stay on track, helping manage time and tasks.
So it's scaffolding the process of learning, not just the content itself.
Precisely. And there's one more interesting concept, adaptive interfaces. The idea here is that AI could dynamically change the actual layout or complexity of a digital learning platform. It could simplify things, reduce visual clutter or distractions, specifically for students who find standard website or app layouts overwhelming, tailoring the digital space itself.
Making the learning environment less complicated. That makes a lot of sense too. Okay, let's talk about those linguistic barriers again. How is AI helping students who are learning the language of instruction?
This is flagged as another area of significant impact. The most obvious tool here is real-time translation. AI providing instant translation text or speech for lectures, textbooks, class discussions. The source calls this a powerful tool for newcomers or any student learning the language. It gives them immediate access to the subject matter, even while their language skills are still developing.
So they don't fall behind in, say, science just because their English or French isn't fluent yet.
Exactly. It bridges that crucial gap. But AI can go further. The document mentions personalized language learning support. Think AI tutors that offer specific feedback on pronunciation, or interactive vocabulary drills, or even real-time grammar checks as they write. The source suggests this kind of personalized, on-demand support can really accelerate their language acquisition journey.
It's almost like having a tireless language practice partner available 24/7. It really does feel like AI is creating all these different pathways, different ways to access and engage with learning, regardless of your starting point. And this must tie into that concept you mentioned earlier, Universal Design for Learning, UDL.
It absolutely does. The source sees UDL as a framework where AI can have a profound impact. UDL, just to define it based on the source, is about designing learning environments, lessons, materials, spaces so they're inherently accessible to everyone right from the start. It's not about adding accommodations later as an afterthought. It's about building flexibility in from the ground up.
Okay, like the analogy of building a ramp alongside stairs from day one, not adding it later if someone needs it. How does AI make this UDL approach practical, especially at scale?
Well, AI enables UDL because, as the source points out, many tools initially designed for one specific need end up benefiting a much broader group of learners. It creates flexibility. Think back to the examples we just discussed. Real-time captions, right? Primarily for students who are hard of hearing. Well, they also really help language learners and visual learners. And frankly, anyone trying to follow along in a noisy classroom or text-to-speech. Essential for students with dyslexia, sure, but also super useful for auditory learners or any student who wants to review notes while commuting, for example. Or that AI summarization tool. Great for students with certain learning disabilities, but also fantastic for any student who needs to quickly get the main idea of a long reading assignment.
I see. So by building these kinds of flexible AI-powered options directly into the main learning platforms, you automatically create an environment that caters to a whole spectrum of needs and preferences. Everyone gets options.
Exactly. The source really emphasizes that embedding these tools creates an environment that is, quote, flexible and adaptable for everyone from the outset. That's the heart of UDL.
That's a really powerful concept. Designing for the margins actually improves things for everyone. But, okay, this all sounds amazing, almost utopian. But the source is also very clear about the flip side, the challenges, the ethical considerations. Let's get into those. What does it say about the tech itself? Issues like accuracy and bias.
Yeah, these are framed as absolute critical concerns. Things needing care and ethical foresight. One major issue is just plain accuracy and reliability. Think about it if an AI translation has errors or if a transcription misses key words. It doesn't just fail to help, it could actively create misunderstanding, a new barrier. So the document is firm. These tools must be highly accurate and reliable to be truly useful.
Makes sense. You can't replace one barrier with another caused by faulty tech. What about bias?
This is maybe even trickier. Algorithmic bias. AI learns from data. And if the data it learns from reflects existing societal biases, well, the AI can inherit and even amplify those biases. The source gives some worrying examples. Speech recognition might perform worse, be less accurate for people with non-standard accents or certain speech impediments. Or, it mentions hypothetically, if facial analysis tech were used in education tools, it might be less effective for students of color based on known issues with that technology. The really crucial point the document makes is it's vital that these accessibility tools do not fail the very populations they're designed to serve. That's the danger. Bias in the tool could undermine the entire goal.
Wow. Yeah, that's a sobering reminder that a tech isn't neutral. It reflects the world it learned from, biases and all. Okay, beyond the tech itself, what about the more human and systemic challenges the source raises? Things like data privacy, equitable access.
Just as critical. First off, privacy of sensitive data. This is huge. The kind of data these accessibility tools might collect information about a student's specific disabilities, their learning patterns, where they struggle, it's extremely sensitive. The source insists this data must be protected with the highest levels of security and governed by strict privacy policies, making sure they comply with Canadian laws, for instance. Protecting that vulnerable student data is non-negotiable.
Absolutely. You need trust for these tools to be adopted. What else?
Then there's the issue of equity and the digital divide, a really serious risk. The source voices a concern. What if these sophisticated AI tools are expensive or require really good internet access? They could end up only being available in, say, wealthy, well-funded schools or districts. Yeah. And that would just exacerbate the divide, widening the gap between students who get this advanced support and those who don't. So availability must be equitable. Everyone needs access for this, to be fair.
Creating new inequalities while trying to solve old ones, that's a definite risk.
Yeah, for sure. And one last really crucial point the source makes is about augmentation, not replacement. It emphasizes that these AI tools are powerful aids, assistants, but they cannot and should not replace the expertise and empathy of human specialists. We're talking about special education teachers, educational assistants, human interpreters, translators, people who provide nuance, emotional support, personalized guidance that, frankly, AI just can't replicate. The danger, the source warns, is over-reliance on the tech leading to a dangerous reduction in that vital human support structure.
That's such an important distinction. AI is a tool for the human experts, not a replacement of them. Okay, so we've mapped the barriers, the incredible potential of these AI tools, the connection to UDL, and also these really significant challenges and ethical considerations. So bringing it all together, what does the source ultimately conclude? What's the grand promise of AI in making education truly accessible?
Well, the document really circles back to reinforce that central idea. AI is a profound force. It has the potential to help create educational environments that are genuinely more accessible, inclusive, and equitable. It recaps how these tools can break down those sensory, learning, physical, linguistic barriers we talked about. And it connects this again to national aspirations like the Accessible Canada Act.
And the connection to UDL is key to that promise.
Yes, exactly. It suggests the true potential really lies in using AI to foster universal design for learning, to build those flexible environments where every student has the tools they need to engage fully, to participate, to succeed, not as a special add-on, but just as part of the standard design.
And it's a big but, realizing that amazing potential hinges entirely on navigating those challenges we just discussed, right?
Absolutely. The source is explicit about this. Achieving this vision responsibly demands that we vigilantly address the challenges of algorithmic bias, data privacy, and technological equity. It won't happen automatically. It requires conscious, ethical effort in how these tools are developed and deployed.
So what's the final thought? The ultimate contribution.
The document offers a really powerful concluding thought. It suggests that AI's greatest contribution to education. It might not actually be about personalized learning paths or automated grading, things we often hear about. It might simply be its capacity to help ensure that no student is left behind.
No student is left behind. That really cuts to the core of it, doesn't it? It grounds the technology in a deeply human goal.
It does. The source concludes by saying that if we thoughtfully use AI, if we leverage it to build these more responsive, adaptable learning ecosystems, we move closer to that cherished ideal. An ideal where every single learner, no matter their ability, their background, their needs, has a genuine opportunity to learn, to thrive, and yes, to reach their potential. It calls this whole effort a crucial step towards a more just and inclusive future for all.
That was a really thorough and I think very insightful deep dive, pulling all those key points and nuances directly from the source material on AI and accessibility in education.
Yeah, it really paints a picture of, well, incredible potential, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How technology could genuinely create more equitable opportunities for students. But it also, crucially, grounds us, reminds us of the absolute need for, thoughtful, ethical, and truly human-centered ways of putting these tools into practice.
Exactly. And it leaves you, the listener, with that powerful thought to chew on. Maybe AI's biggest win in education isn't the flashy stuff, but simply ensuring everyone gets a fair shot. It's the support they need to actually participate and learn. Definitely something to keep thinking about as this tech keeps evolving. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. If you found this exploration useful and you want more insights pulled directly from key sources on tech and society, make sure you subscribe to our channel at Tech AI and Beyond. We'll be back with another deep dive very soon.